budget. Senate President Akpabio threatens appointees. Festus Keyamo gives deadly warning to Joe Ajaero, NLC president. Details now. Now, we will begin with this particular story where heavyweights from across the globe have been lined up to actually attend the 2023 National Convention of Nsukka High School Old Boys Association beginning this Friday, which is tomorrow, at the school premises. Now, Nsukka High School, which is formerly known as Anglican Grammar School, is reputed for producing eminent personalities in different fields of human endeavor. Now, speaking on a particular event, which is expected at the convention that will host a number of dignitaries, including Professor Osi Okonya, he disclosed that the special guest of honor on the occasion would be the Governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mba, while Peter Obi would also be one of the distinguished guests of honor. According to him, the other dignitaries include the senator representing Enugu North in the Upper Legislative Chamber, Oke Ezie, who is also one of the old boys of the school, Senator Eyinara Baribe, a senator representing Abia North, Honorable Dennis Agbo, a member representing Udenu Ibueza North in the House of Representatives, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nigeria Nsukka, Professor Charles Igwe, amongst others. Also, Professor Okonya said that the convention, which will begin tomorrow, Friday, November, and will end on Sunday, November 12. He said that on the first day, there would be speeches, prize giving, novelty march, and a cocktail party. Now, joining me to actually talk extensively on this particular ostentatious occasion, I actually have right here in the studio Peter Anosike, who is one of the old boys of that particular prestigious institution. Peter Anosike is a philosopher, a development economist, a journalist, a best-selling author. He's also one prominent individual that has been more, will I call him a political critic of, let's just say, political issues across the country. Mr. Peter Anosike, welcome to VOP 90.3 FM.
Thank you for having me.
Now, they say that a convergence of alumni, especially of any institution whatsoever, after so many years, is a great deal. Events occur over the time. A lot of people lose connection, lose path, and lose their ways. But a situation where along the line or in the long run, most of these individuals are connected, possibly in a particular institution, have grown, have become persons of repute, and decide to converge together to form not just a unity, but to actually implement development and possibly renege on other issues that may have transpired over the years. Some persons will call it a miraculous adventure. What's your take on it?
Well, for me, it's going to be a great reunion, because when most of us finished in the 80s and 90s, there were no cell phones. So getting contacts was not possible. It was just house addresses. But Nsukka High School is reputed to have produced eminent personalities across the world. Just like, as you said, the senator representing Nsukka Enugu North, Oke Ezie, is an old boy. Then the House of Representative member representing Ibueze Udenu, Dennis Agbo, he's currently at the House now. He's also an old boy. Because one thing is this, our motto is highest and the best. Highest and the best. So
it tells you that over the years, you have always aimed for the height.
So even for me, when I wanted that to start writing books, I told myself it's either I'll be number one or not.
Okay.
And that inspired me that today, in a country of over 200 million people, I'm the number one financial book author.
Very amazing, very amazing.
The only Nigerian that Wall Street Journal has described his book as one of the best in the world.
All right, so what will be the aim of this convergence, very briefly, while we'll go into other political issues?
Well, it's a reunion. There are going to be lectures by P2B and other eminent personalities.
Okay.
There will be football matches. Then the president of the Old Boy has brought money for prostate tests and so on and so forth. So, and the old things that boys used to do in the dormitory those days, that's beans and bread. We used to call it susu, understand me? So all those things would be removed.
So beyond having to go through the nostalgic moments of being together, you're also impacting lives. There's an avenue through which you're able to reach out to people.
Health.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anosike. Now let's move on to other political issues. I actually have right here in the studio CP Chuks Enwonwu. CP Chuks, thank you so much for joining me on the World News at 6. I'll be starting off with Similai Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, whom on Thursday met with his predecessor in office and the current minister of the Federal Capital Territory, that's Nyesom Wike. Now, although VOP News understands that the two leaders met and exchanged pleasantries in Port Harcourt, the state capital, at the rededication service of the 2023-2024 legal year. Now, the event was held at a particular school named St. Cyprian's Anglican Church. So it was the first time big politicians, ever since the imbroglio that occurred where the State Assembly was burnt down, where apparently he was sprayed with a tear gas and possibly shot at, and the president had to intervene in the conflict between the both of them. They met together at a particular event, and then Fubara has eventually pledged his loyalty to his predecessor, maintaining that Wike remains his principal. He described the recent political crisis in the state as a thing of the past and called again for peace in the oil-rich state. Fubara noted that Rivers State can be peaceful if the actors and their supporters are peaceful. So ever since this particular information came on board, a couple of others said, okay, so in the fight, Fubara is now considered to be a toothless bulldog. How do you go into ring to fight when you don't have the arsenal with you to fight? So eventually he has, conceded defeat to his predecessor. Does it mean that the arrangement, which is the allocation, the tax allocation within the state, which Wike actually asked for, are we saying that an agreement has been reached? State allocation will be given to Wike as an extension, which is part of the agreement they're going to have. Are we also going to see a return of some individuals or appointments made by Nyesom Wike into the cabinet of Similai Fubara? What does this end of this conflict mean, this resolve mean between the both of them?
Well, what has played out is politics of godfatherism.
All right.
Being in the front burner. In other words, all that Nyesom Wike came out to tell the entire globe that he financed or sponsored everybody in both the House of Assembly up to the National Assembly, House of Reps, Senate, including the governor, is coming to be confirmed.
Okay.
And in as much as the statement of Wike in that respect concerning that himself set up the structures and control the structures is really sending very wrong message to the polity. Wrong message in the sense that it is only in Nigeria that that type of nonsense will happen. In civilized climes, it can never. From which pocket did he bring out the money to sponsor? Is it not state funds? Is it legal to do that? If it were in civilized climes, Wike would have been singing a different tune by now. So what it portends is that there's still danger in deepening our democracy here in Nigeria. The earlier we realize that it is much better and appropriate to strengthen the institutions, the better for all of us, than to allow individuals to grow from strength to strength, thereby relegating the institutions. Because a situation where one man will come and tell you how he has bankrolled and financed everybody in the system is very, very unfortunate and unacceptable by any decent standard, both at home and internationally.
All right. Mr. Peter Anosike, a couple of critics will say that ever since the redaction of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's name on the supposed release of the FBI files, that a lot went underground, and that it is not surprising to see the kind of political practice that we practice here. Do you think this in any way had an effect in what transpired in Rivers State? For example, there are speculations or allegations that money's exchanged hands for the redacted, possibly some influence whatsoever, political political influence, international diplomacy, or international influence that took place for that particular redacting, and a couple of other issues which felt that since they were not dealt with, we're going to set an administration that will do whatever it is they want and nobody would say anything. Do we see that as one of the reasons why what transpired in Rivers State transpired and eventually Fubara conceding to Nyesom Wike?
Well, for me, there's a difference between words and action.
Okay.
Everybody is aware that Fubara is Wike's nominee, Wike's candidate, Wike's employee. But nothing is settled yet until Fubara will now bring back all those people that he has sacked. Then we now see that he has accepted the defeat.
Okay.
Understand? So in public, he shouldn't disown his boss.
Okay.
So when he bring back the chief of staff, mind you, the CSO has been redeployed.
Yeah.
Then if all those people that Fubara sacked are brought back, we will now know that Fubara actually mean what he said. So for me, I consider that as a mere political statement.
All right, so let's come back again. The reason why I'm saying so is that a lot of people feel these issues erupted or became an offshoot or became a matter of concern because of the imbroglio that ensued before the Supreme Court ruling. The president has been affirmed as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Supreme Court affirmed that on September, was it September? October 26, yes, October 26, very recent. And after that affirmation, a lot of things went right. We had those who were in agreement with the Supreme Court ruling. We had those who were against it. Of course, the opposition political party principals, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. And a couple of critics believe that Atiku Abubakar's political party were not strategic because they allowed Peter Obi to walk out of the party and join the Labour Party. Otherwise, we would not have the conversation we're having now. They also allege that the imbroglio that surrounds the president or the current administration and the couple of gray areas that surrounds the president would not have been a thing of discussion or a thing of conversation if there were political strategy put in place by the opposition, specifically the People's Democratic Party. Also, other critics believe that the composition of the Labour Party are more from the People's Democratic Party, and that's basically why possibly the Labour Party had a strong force. But do you think that the blocking of the record of the president was because the Supreme Court had affirmed him? Could it also be that, as a couple of critics believe, that money exchanged hands somewhere? Or could it also be that these international communities wanted to have a sane political climate in this part of the world and they did not want to create any sense of uprising that could disrupt the sanity that we are possibly trying to cope up with? What's your take on that? The
truth is that the Western world does not love anybody.
Okay.
They don't love Africans. All they care is their interest. What they fundus is their interest. Understand? So before, candidate Tinubu and President Tinubu are different, are two people. So the Supreme Court has confirmed him as Nigeria president. So whatever they want to do now, they are no more dealing with President Tinubu as an individual.
Okay.
They are dealing with Nigeria as a country.
Do you think money exchange hands whatsoever? If you consider what transpired ever since the court deposition, they're trying to block the release of those documents, do you think any huge amount of money was exchanged? Do you think that particular security institution, the FBI, was compromised? Because basically,
no, this is a country versus a country, and there's nowhere. Nigeria cannot give America money. Okay. Understand me? And the FBI releasing any report against Nigeria will not be in their own interest. So this is America, a country versus a country. Who Tinubu represents now? Tinubu now represents Nigeria. Not Bondamed anymore.
All right. CP Chooks, let me ask you this. The president has been affirmed by the Supreme Court. Very much agreed. Other APC stalwarts have asked the opposition to work along with the president so we have a progressive economy and we have a stable polity. Others believe that some segments of the opposition party stoked the ethnic and religious bigotry that transpired during the February 25 elections, But now that things are the way they are, everybody is expected to move on and hope that the policies implemented will carry everyone along, especially since the fuel subsidy removal occurred on May 29 during the inauguration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But let's come back to the fact that based on what transpired and how everything went on, do you think that a Nigerian should bother about the gray area surrounding the president? Don't you think that it is also high time they embrace him and see possibly he is ready to serve or he's ready to work?
Well, virtually all Nigerians are ready to join the center, the government, to move the government forward from the situation we find ourselves. But having said that, a situation whereby they are expecting all other political structures to collapse their systems and come and join the ruling party is what is unacceptable politically and constitutionally too. Because the constitution is very clear that we are running a multi-party system. So when the chairman of APC or the ruling party in the person of Abdullahi Ganduje said that his target is to see that the party takes over the 36 states. I saw it that the man was not serious, or maybe he did not read the constitution very well to know that it is a multi-party system that we are running. In other words, we need the more the merrier. We need more political parties to come on board, be formidable, and be consistent in opposition. Because if the ruling party or the party in power is not living up to expectation, like what we saw between 2011 to 2015, which made other parties to amalgamate and form the APC that flushed out the PDP, we will not be surprised that some other parties will tomorrow come together and flush out this APC, because it is the same APC that has landed us where we are today between 2015 and 2023. So that's the situation.
Okay, so let's look at this particular situation where one of the spokesperson of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu mentioned, he made reference to the fact that the president won. He bragged that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has won the election and he has won in the court, and the opposition party should accept his win. If they cannot accept it, then they can go build another Nigeria somewhere, possibly in Mars or anywhere they want to. But at this moment, the Supreme Court, the apex court, the highest court on the land, has affirmed the president. Whatever files or documents which they feel or they think will merge the president is of no use, because the Supreme Court has eventually affirmed him. Now let's look at the situation. They claimed that political strategy was seriously lacking within the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party. They said again that it was very important for you to have a deep-seated fundamental approach in dealing with politics in this part of the world. Others say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being a strong political strategist, understood the gimmicks, understands how to go about it, and that's basically why he won. That was one of the things Bayo Onanuga said. Bayo Onanuga also accused Peter Obi of stirring up ethnic and religious bigotry during the presidential elections. He said that he was more into social media impressions than having to work constitutionally or properly with how to get his win, which is being strategic on the chessboard on winning these elections. Do you think that what Bayo Onanuga said is true?
What Bayo Onanuga said is unfortunate and does not make sense as far as the issue of reconciliation is concerned. He shouldn't have made such a reckless and careless statement. I mean, if you're talking in line or in terms of reconciliation, you should not even go into that area of what had happened in the past. Yes, granted, the Supreme Court has affirmed him as the president. It's not in contention. It's not the issue. The issue is we have a lot of challenges in terms of the economy, in terms of security, and other sundry issues. So those are the issues he should be weighing the other political parties and prominent Nigerians to come on board as assist the system or the government to move out of the present doldrum and the present existential realities that we are facing today. It's not a question of everything you politicize it. You're going back and forth, telling this man whether he played ethnic politics or he played religious politics. These things are no longer relevant. They should be put in the dust bin or in the trash can as things that had gone behind us, and then forge forward on how to, reorganize or restructure or strategize on how we get ourselves out of the present mess we find ourselves. As we speak, see the way the dollar has drowned the naira, and the naira keeps cascading. Is that a good thing? The answer is capital no. Look at the level of poverty. Look at the level of hunger. Look at the pilferage in the governmental systems and day-to-day running of the government. It is very, very unacceptable considering the state we have found ourselves. So I had expected them to be on a notch higher than what we are seeing presently. A situation where you are talking of spending so much, to maintain houses that are not in use when people are hungry in some other parts of the country. I think the people advising the presidency are not doing justice to the man, because in the supplementary budget, they ought to have advised him, even if they have passed it, he should step down on some of those conspicuous consumptions and spendings.
In reaction to what you just said, Mr. Anosike, this question is for you. When the first tranche of the FBI files were released, Nigerians were some Nigerians, especially from the opposition, were quite ecstatic to see what could have actually been unfolded there. And then, of course, there were some names mentioned: Lee, Andrew Edwards, Muiza Konde, Abiodun Agbele, and of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even if his name was redacted. But when that tranche came up, a lot of persons said that is old news. It's no longer necessary. We need to move on from it. A couple of people believe that the current economic reality we're facing is as a result of those things we consider to put aside that are not necessary, which has created a brazenness for thieving, kidnapping, and a couple of insecurity we're facing at the moment. People kidnapped for as low as 50,000 naira, 40,000 naira. Armed robbers enter people's homes and steal their pot of soups, no matter how little it is. So it has gotten to a situation that in some states that can no longer survive, they have devolved to a state of taking anything they can see to cope. So the question is, will the president's economic plan and his strategy as he unfolded before he was confirmed by the Supreme Court, how would you advise this administration to go? Because at the moment, the opposition have no choice but to accept and work with him, whether he has a gray area or he has whatever past he's had that the FBI has on him.
Yeah, I will start with Ganduje and what Bayo Onanuga said.
Okay.
In 2011, when Jonathan won, the parties in the opposition did not collapse their structure and join PDP.
Okay.
Understand me? In 2020, when Democrats won, the Republicans did not collapse their structure and join the Democrats.
Okay.
And it is the American brand of democracy that we are practicing. So one of the beauties of the democracy is its opposition. And opposition gives you what? Freedom of choice. When Mr. A is not doing well, you can join Mr. B. So if the people in the opposition collapse their structure and join party A, it means there's no more opposition.
All right.
So the reason for opposition is to keep the government in power on their toes.
All right.
And that's why everybody must not be in one party.
All right. Now, let's start off with this particular situation that occurred today where the federal government has supported the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, that's Peter Obi, over his observations on the 2023 supplementary budget. We're talking about the Nigerian economy at this moment, and based on the supplementary budget, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party reacted to it. Now, Obi, via his X-handle yesterday, said the 2023 supplementary budget did not reflect mostly pressing national needs and emergencies of national welfare. He said that no budget was made to fight hunger in the country, which is what CP Chooks just said at the moment, and that no fund was earmarked for urgent social welfare in the supplementary budget, saying that the items that dominated public discourse and the budget includes a mysterious presidential yacht and official vehicles, amongst others. He said that the president's overall attitude does not indicate that he is aware on the huge crisis that the country has been plunged in, nor is the government in tune with the plight of the generality of the people. I recall a month after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated, he actually did an emergency national press conference where he addressed the fact that a national food emergency parliament or forum, or cabinet has been set up to look at the state of food in the country, saying that they need to look for a means through which the price of food items would be reduced, and so we do not have this kind of pragmatic hunger that is currently bedeviling the nation. Well, after that, we have not heard any statement from that particular team constituted by the president on what approach they intend to go in terms of curbing hunger and bringing out the slashing down the prices of food. Also, he talked about getting fertilizer accessible to farmers so they can farm easily, cheaply, and possibly sell food at a lower rate. But we have not gotten any report from that. We're still expecting to get a report from that. Now, reacting to what Peter Obi said as to the current economic situation, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said the budget is a bold and pragmatic response to address the current economic challenges. He said that Rabiu Ibrahim stated that the highlights of the budget included allocations for essential sectors, which included security, agriculture and food security, works and housing, wage increase for workers, student loan schemes, and social safety nets, amongst others. Would you toe the line of the response of Mohammed Idris to the supplementary budget, or would you agree with what Peter Obi said about it?
Well, when Tinubu declared state of emergency on food, I said that it is a wrong thing to do. The issue of security should be addressed first. Okay. There can be no famine. There will not be famine. Understand? There cannot be famine when the forests, the farms are now safe for the farmers. Benue, which is the food basket of the nation, are no more famine because herdsmen are everywhere. Okay. In the villages, before they go there to farm, they go in group because of they are afraid. So he should have first addressed the issue of security before declaring national emergency on food. So he should do the first thing first. But for me, the supplementary budget is mere wastefulness. Okay. Nothing was addressed there that is substantial. Everything there is superficial. And then now a presidential budget, a presidential press conference can affect our exchange rate positively or negatively. It happens everywhere in the world. And that a budget was passed and our naira is still going down, losing value, means that something is not being done. Understand? And until we begin to produce, until we begin to export, the issue of naira will continue to be weakened every day by day. All right. So their budget is a budget of wastefulness.
That's what you think?
Sure.
All right, let's look at another thing. Ever since the situation happened with the FBI files, others believe that the FBI files would have brought to light the underworld dealings of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu while he was in the United States, before he delved fully into politics, or while he was politically involved and while he was doing whatever it was he was doing in the US. Others feel that the president should have addressed this. Possibly if he had addressed this, we would not hear such derogatory comments about his person, and Nigerians wouldn't just speculate negativity on his personality and possibly take his word as he says. CP Chooks, let me ask you, a couple of persons will tell you that a good name is better than riches. Regardless of how much money you have, if your name is not good, it will go down in history that this person is not one you can consider to be loyal, is not one of repute, or possibly has a negative reputation about his person. Being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Nigerians already have a reputation internationally beyond our entertainment government sector and all, it's a mixed feeling. It is positive and negative. But that with the situation with the president, other international communities responded to it in terms of the authenticity of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you think the president should have addressed this whole FBI imbroglio, addressed the whole CSC certificate thingy, the whole underworld drug peddling, whatever, put it aside and tell Nigerians, I apologize for whatever misconceptions that you have about me, but let's grow this economy and let's move forward? Or is it preferable that he kept quiet or he kept mum about it?
Well, that is what we see in developing economies.
Okay.
As far as I know and as far as I am concerned, Nigeria is a third world country where people believe that might is right.
Okay.
And as such, that arrogance is always there. To the extent that they will hardly apologize. You see, there is a particular nation where the president had to resign based on certain anomalies in the economic system.
Corruption allegations.
Corruption allegations.
Which country is that again?
It's in Europe. It's in Europe. I saw it 2 days ago.
Exactly. So what I'm saying in essence is that it's difficult for those things to happen in this part of the world. And whatever the man or the president has been doing is all that bravado to show that I am in charge and I will do my own things the way I feel like getting it done. But that is not helping matters, because no matter how you look at it, they may try to cover
a lot of things. But the smoke cannot be buried. All right.
Because no matter how you go around it or about it, it will still come back and it will bounce back in a monstrous dimension than what one would have anticipated. So what I'm saying in essence is that he is expected, if he wanted to rise above whatever impressions people have
given about him,
he could have come out and be humble enough to address that issue. But whatever it is, whether he likes it or not, if he decides still not to address it, the thing will still bounce back.
All right, thank you, CP Chooks, who seem to have actually run out of time of the World News at 6. Mr. Peter Anosike, thank you so much for your contribution to the World News at 6, as well as CP Chooks. I sincerely do appreciate you. In order for us to round up the World News, here again are the top stories. You heard that Fubara has resolved the conflict with Nyesom Wike. Tinubu's government has replied Peter Obi of the Labour Party over observations on 2023 supplementary budget. Senate President threatens appointees, and Festus Keyamo gives deadly warning to Georgia NLC President. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachko. I would implore you to go to at VOP TV Live at the moment, where we have another program called VOP Politics. All right, at VOP TV Live, and it's termed VOP Politics for an extension of political issues to be discussed there. Do have yourselves an amazing evening.